His name is Mike Greer. He's 6 feet, 240 pounds, plays hockey for BU, and he hits like a truck. To say he's the complete package is an understatement. He also leads Boston University in scoring. Oh, yeah, speaking of scoring, other guys can put it in the net like Chris O'Sullivan. The Terriers haven't won a national title since 1978, but this year they definitely have their eyes on the prize. Boston University and Minnesota are no strangers. They met on New Year's Eve in Minnie, and BU won a thriller. Of course, you knew it would be in overtime, didn't you? It was a big win for the Boston University Terriers, but did they think they'd beat Minnesota in the national semifinals then? Minnesota has a big gun of its own, let's remember, in junior Brian Bonnet, a finalist for the Hobie Baker Award. He poured in 32 goals this year. He hopes more will follow next on the News. Welcome live to the Providence Civic Center in Providence, Rhode Island. It's men's semifinal game number 2 in the Division I Ice Hockey Championships. On the News, the Minnesota Golden Gophers out of the WCHA take on Boston University's Terriers out of the Hockey East Conference. How did they get here? Well, Boston U and the East Originals exercised the devil, beating Lake State last weekend, while Minnesota had the hard road, beating RPI and having to beat Colorado College. They did, and they are here. And a pleasant good evening to you, everyone. I'm Tom Mees, along with Bob Norton. Bob, let's begin with the lower-seeded team, the Golden Gophers here. They have a Hobie Baker finalist tonight, Brian Bonnet.
He's a heck of a hockey player. Missed the hockey back in 1992 at White Bear Lake High School in White Bear Lake, Minnesota. First team all WCHA, 5th in the country in goals, 6th in points. He had 2 goals versus BU in the Mariucci Classic back in January.
Now, Ryan Kraft, you got to love his haircut, but you got to love the way he plays, too.
Well, they have 2 wonderful freshmen right out of the state of Minnesota. Ryan Kraft out of Moorhead, Minnesota, 5'9", freshman, and first team all WCHA rookie. And then defensively, Mike Crowley, what a splendid player he is out of Bloomington Jefferson High School. They compare him with Phil Housley. Wow. When they talk about Phil Housley, you're talking about one of the great players in the history of Minnesota high school hockey.
You sure are. Now, for Boston University, the guys have been getting a lot of publicity. Mike Greer, an African-American playing the game of college hockey, but he plays it very well, and he leads his team in scoring.
He's had a tremendous year for Boston University. As he goes, so goes Boston University. Sets the tempo with the body. Out of St. Sebastian's High School, grew up in Holliston, Massachusetts. Had struggled the last 5 games, but I'll tell you, when he goes, you go hunting for him, you're going to end up being the hunted. He just comes through and barrels through, and red hot lately. Sean Bates out of Medford High School in Medford, Mass. 7 goals in his last 6 games, 17-goal season after a 10-goal freshman year. He's really been hot as a pistol for the Boston University Terriers. He and Greer really incite them.
Well, they love playing here in this building of the BU Terriers. The last time Jackie Parker won a national title, 1978. It was in this building. Will he have Kai Lena score a hat trick as he did against Lake State? We'll find out. Coming up next on the News. Welcome back to Providence, Rhode Island on the News. The second men's semifinal. The winner of this game gets the University of Maine in the finals Saturday afternoon. A great rivalry. 2 traditional powers, Minnesota and BU. We talked about that rivalry with Minnesota head man Doug Woog.
Relationship, a respectful rivalry. It was a great game. In fact, the New Year's Eve game was one of the better games that our people had a chance to see. It was up and down, a lot of plays, and so it's a healthy one. I mean, it's not one where there's antagonism going. It's just a real healthy college type of rivalry.
We had some great years against Doug in the 80s when they beat us in our own rink. Then last year we beat them in their own rink, so to speak, in St. Paul. So we've had some great games and great rivalries over the years, not just in the NCAAs, but in regular season games as well.
So the traditionally strong programs in men's Division I college hockey. Boston University of Minnesota about set to face off. A lot on the line. Back in a moment. Providence Civic Center, Providence, Rhode Island. Tom Mees and Bob Norton with you. That's Mike Greer of Boston University. He'll be one of the big stories of this game. It has been a big story all year long. And the rest of his Terrier teammates set to go against the Minnesota Golden Gophers. The Gophers sent out their top line of Bonnet, Larson, and McHugh to start it off. Number 21 is Brian Bonnet. He'll take the opening face-off against Jacques Joubert of BU.
BU, a great first-period team, outscoring their opponent 67-46.
The Gophers in their maroon and gold. Jumping into the zone, McHugh goes for it in the corner. Kai Lena, who had a hat trick for BU against Lake Superior State, ties him up along the boards, and the Terriers break out to center. On the left wing, LaChance dumps it deep behind the Minnesota net. Now LaChance uses the body against Larson to try and center it, but Larson is there for Minnesota. Quickly it comes up to Brian Bonnet at center. He'll dump in for a change. Boston University some 50 miles away from this building, so they'll have the predominance of the crowd tonight as Greer goes to the corner quickly. He's tied up from behind, but it ends up on the stick of Ryan Kraft of Minnesota. Kraft gets it up to Nick Checo on the left wing. Checo fans on his first shot. Second one goes wide, and Minnesota struggles to keep it in, and they do so. Checo in the corner. He falls down. Thornton of Boston University. Steve Thornton, the center, on the first line, tries to clear it. Turnover in the zone. Kraft has it momentarily. Back it comes to O'Sullivan. He's got Greer on the right wing. O'Sullivan double teamed and bumped rudely off the puck by Minnesota. Greer behind the net. Checo bounces off of him. Thornton back to the point. Shane Johnson holds it in for BU. O'Sullivan loses his stick, now picks it up, comes back to Johnson at the point. Johnson winds up, shot through traffic. Jeff Paladin down, rebound goes wide in the opening minute and a half.
O'Sullivan big in front of the net, setting up the screen on the Johnson shot, almost knocked in the rebound.
Minnesota now threatening the Boston University goal, but coming out to play it is Herlovsky. Derek Herlovsky in net for BU. Rovers Hendrickson back in his own zone. Gets it up to Dan Woog, yes, son of the coach Doug. And the number 29, Danny Hendrickson. Henderson goes to the corner with Casey Hankinson. Hankinson is checked off. And Boston University's Doug Wood draws the whistle. Let's take a look at the goaltenders tonight. For Minnesota, the senior out of Mound, Jeff Callanan.
Jeff Callanan out of Mound High School, number 1 in the WCHA this year in goals against average, number 8 in the country in save percentage, 2.70 goals against this year, 3.17 career goals against, 95 games played. And out of Edison High School, Minneapolis, Minnesota, Derek Herlovsky, been a great tournament goaltender for the Boston University Terriers, 12-4 in tournament play. This is his 5th NCAA tournament game, 5th in the country in win percentage.
Face-off will be in the BU zone as Doug Woog looks on from the bench, still searching for his first national championship at the helm of Minnesota. Last one the Golden Gophers had when Herb Brooks was coaching them.
You know, this Boston University team much bigger physically than Minnesota. They're very, very strong physically as BU. Minnesota has speed, quickness, but BU is very strong and much bigger.
Jed Spiegelcourt carries to center and is rudely knocked off the puck by Matt Wright of BU, but the Gophers continue to carry in, and Derek Herlovsky can't control the rebound, so he'll step on it or cover it up in the crease. Now, we talked about the rivalry between these two teams, the series history all time. You can't get any tighter than that. 10 up, 10 down for each. The last 4 meetings are also split right down the middle, so we look for a tight one tonight.
Matt Wright out of Belmont, Massachusetts, been playing lately with an ornery disposition. He puts the shoulder to feeble corn right there. Wright, game-winning goal in the 3-2 Hockey East win, championship win over Providence College, the sophomore out of Belmont.
He likes to throw his body around.
Very much so, and you saw that with the Drury set up the other night in the regionals. He's been a real pleasant surprise to Boston University, particularly with his physical presence.
Kai Lehner, the senior out of Helsinki, Finland, comes loose to center off the stick of LaChance. Prendergast, who's been out for several games, back in the BU lineup tonight. The Minnesota carries to center. Bonnet off of his stick to Larson, number 17. Larson has his pocket picked by Jacques Joubert. Now it's on the stick of Brian Bonnet. His lead pass too far ahead for McHugh. And number 26 for BU, John Coleman behind his own net. Won't be icing because the puck is in on the goaltender, Callanan. Bell of Minnesota. Bell, number 10, trailing the play, loses the puck on the right wing boards, and back comes Boston University's Thornton. Cruises to the slot. Thornton's got room, shoots, and Callanan tested with the first glove save of the night.
Now there you use Greer as a big screen coming right down the slot.
16:38 yet to go in the very first period of play. No score yet. Minnesota BU.
Well, this is what the big guy gives you. He just comes pouring into the zone on the right side. Now watch right here. He's going to pick right here on this man and defend over that side. Watch what happens. A pick there. Thornton behind. Picks Wackman. Thornton with the shot. Nice save.
And play back on to the Boston University end. Ryan Kraft, one of the youngsters we talked about in the open.
Those are the kinds of little things that Greer gives this team. His physical presence, very, very important.
Scramble for the puck on the right wing. Lawrence in the BU zone. Kraft can't keep it in the zone. The Terriers knock it back to center. There for Minnesota, Andy Brink. This is Bell in the corner. Lined up there by Shane Johnson and tied up. Rich Brennan also in there for Boston University in a frozen puck.
What Minnesota wants to try to do here, Tom, is to turn this into an up and down the ice game. What they don't want to have, they don't want the game played along the boards. Looks like there's an injury in the, maybe not, just a tie up there in the BU defensive end. When we take a look at Hobey Baker finalist Mike Greer, and first team All-American. What an accomplishment for the sophomore out of St. Sebastian. All-American team announced today, and Mike Greer first team right wing.
You know, Mike Keenan is watching it with interest maybe tonight. Draft pick of the St. Louis Blues.
Minnesota wants to keep this game off the wall. Keep it an up and down game. Keep it away from being a up against your own boards kind of game.
Here's a breakaway for Boston University. A shot goes wide off the stick of Jay Pandolfo. Pandolfo breaking right in on Callahan. Now it's Kelleher way back in the BU zone behind his own net, and he'll be called for icing here, and the faceoff will be back in the Terrier end.
Boston University quick to look for the break. Jay Pandolfo coming back off a terrible cut that he suffered in the Beanpot hockey tournament. That's the pass off Bates. Bates slips Pandolfo right up the chute. Pandolfo, his left hand not real strong, doesn't get much on the shot and bounces off the pads. Took 45 stitches in that left hand, Tom, in the second Beanpot game against Boston College, and can't really get much leverage on the shot. Nice save there by Callahan.
And the Terriers try to hit Pandolfo again, but Kelleher's headman pass just too far, and the face-off back in the BU zone again.
Pandolfo's first game back after the February injury was in the regional final against Lake State, and he played a lot, got much more ice time than I think Boston University intended him to get. Very strong player Pandolfo is out of Burlington High School in Burlington, Mass. He was having a superb year until the injury in the week. Right over the hand.
Wogan Bates. Ouch. That hurt just describing it. Wogan Bates on the faceoff ends up behind the BU net. This is Kelleher. Around the boards, comes back out to center. Back is Dan Treble, number 5 for Minnesota. Turnover at center. Crowley of Minnesota ends up with it. Tries to get around Bates. He'll dump in, and the Gophers go for a change. Kelleher of BU. Off the board, too far for Bates. Crowley's on it at the red line. Bouncer in on Herlowski, and with Beeblecorn coming in, Herlowski hangs on. Of course, this game means a lot to him. He's out of Minneapolis, Minnesota, and he wants to show the home folks that the Gophers made a mistake when they didn't recruit him. Back in a moment. With Bob Norton, I'm Tom Mees. We're at the Providence Civic Center in Providence, Rhode Island. The ice hockey semifinals this afternoon. In case you didn't hear, it went triple overtime. Maine beat Michigan 4-3.
3 20-minute overtimes. The third of, after 2 20-minute overtimes at the beginning of the third, Danny Schermerhorn off the faceoff. Won it for Maine.
It was only the longest college playoff game ever. And Maine wins it, so they await the winner of this game. We hope that you got a chance to see all or part of that game. Earlier today on ESPN, it was a classic. And this one could shape up to be the same. Beeblecorn at center ice. Dustin bats it on into the Boston University zone. Minnesota will get a full change out of it. Kylina behind his zone net for BU. At center ice, Prendergast played behind the net by the goaltender Callahan of Minnesota. Callahan's had a tough save in this game. Same cannot be said yet for Herlowski. No shots on goal by Minnesota yet. Right on in, Joubert, and coming out to break it up with Callahan. Oh, Joubert had it all lined up. Forehand, backhand, and Callahan came out of his net to break it up.
Well, he's made 2 great saves early on in this game. The one earlier off Pandolfo on the break, and this one just about a break as Joubert is on the left wing side. He just comes in alone, anticipates the play, does Callahan, and comes over, slides, and makes the play. Dandy pass by LaChance. Been passing the puck beautifully over the last couple of weeks, and an aggressive sliding play coming out of the goal crease for Callahan. LaChance hasn't had a goal since February, but he has 11 assists in the last 12 games, so he's been moving the puck around, and that time, beautiful pass. And Joubert, tough goal scorer, transfer from Princeton out of South Bend, Indiana, stuffed there by Callahan.
Greg Blackman from Minnesota gives it up to Larson. Larson Back in his own zone, Andy Brink. It finally comes back to center. Shane Johnson of BU. Waits till he gets over the other side of the red line and fires in. LaChance takes a hit to keep it in the zone, but plenty of gophers back. Larson. Forecheck by Jacques Joubert over to Brian Bonham. Look out, Mike Greer's on the prowl. You got to watch him when he's on the ice. Gophers dump in. Herlofsky. Larson tried to cut it off, but couldn't control it. Comes back to center. 13-10 to go. First period, no score. And a whistle for offside on Minnesota.
Greer doesn't miss many chances to take the body, and he tries to set the tone of the game early on by using his physical presence to establish an offensive checking tempo and a physical tempo for Boston University. And Minnesota, the strategy that most of the Hockey East teams started to use as he just got creamed there is to try to hit Greer before he hit you. And he started to get nicked a little bit toward the last 2 or 3 weeks of the season. Has a bum shoulder, had a little knee trouble. But when he has a full run at you, watch out.
O'Sullivan, a quick shot. Off the stick into the corner. Well, remember the first time these two teams played New Year's Eve in the Twin Cities, Bob. Greer was not with you then. He was at the World Junior Championships in Alberta. So this is Minnesota's first up close and personal look at Mike Greer.
Yeah, I think they were missing LaChance, Bates, and Greer.
Yeah. And BU still won that game in overtime.
But I don't think Bonham played for Minnesota either, did he?
Yes, he did.
Oh,
he
did.
had 2 goals, yeah.
Oh, that's right. He had 2 goals. I know that. Why did I say something like that?
It's been a long day.
Well, I knew he had 2 goals.
All right, the BU Terriers in their own zone, off the board to center. Treble and O'Sullivan tie each other up. Now, we talk a lot about Mike Greer. Mike Greer is a St. Louis Blues draft pick, so one of these days he might be playing in the NHL with a fellow named Brett Hull. You've heard of him, where he's number 16 for the St. Louis Blues. Brett Hull, what do you think about Mike Greer anyway?
He's got a lot. He's got size, strength, speed, and to go with that 240 pounds, he's got some agility, and that's a hard mix. And I can see every time his name is mentioned, Mike Keenan gets a little glitter in his eye because he loves those guys who just skate hard and play hard and hit everything in sight.
He does, doesn't he?
That's a recipe for Michael Greer. I'll hit everything in sight.
Of course, Greer's dad is the player personnel director, New England Patriots.
You know, he's learned to play hurt, too. You know, when you're in high school, sometimes you don't have to play hurt, but he learned that part of the game.
Hendrickson of Minnesota trying to make a fancy play. Had a poke checked away. Now gets it back. Goes on the backhand into the slot. Hendrickson still after it. Trying to help him is line mate Casey Hankinson. Well, that's a mouthful. Hankinson and Hendrickson on the same line. Puck goes into the corner to the left of Derek Herlofsky. Danny Woog, the center on this line. Casey Hankinson trying to put it in front. Hendrickson again after it, but finally slips and Pandolfo clears. Crowley and Treble back in the defensive zone for Minnesota. Danny Treble in front of his own goalie. Brennan back in his own zone for BU. Chris Drury knocks it into the Minnesota end. Callan will come out to play it on the backhand. Now Minnesota comes into the Boston University zone, and we could have a penalty here. No penalty. All right. Someone was coming up on Brent, but no. He got a hold of Jesse Berkeley up. And wrote him off the play into the boards. Play goes on. No penalties called yet in this hockey game. Here's Brink of Minnesota. Berkeley on for his first shift to right, dumps into the corner. And a change for the Gophers. Boston U leads on the shot scoreboard. 4 shots on goal to none. Minnesota yet to have an official shot on goal on the BU net.
Yeah, that notwithstanding, the tempo of this game still is not bad for them. They saved a couple of breakaways. The BU hasn't had very many testing shots either.
Brink back in his own zone again. Quickly to center to Larson. He's on with Bonin. The top line is out there. McHugh, Bonin, and Larson. Larson in the slot, fans on it. Then he hits the defenseman Kelleher in the chest with a shot. And BU clears. It should be icing on Boston University. It is with 10:08 to go in the period.
You know, Michael Greer has sort of an ornery disposition, and not only does he take the body, but he'll give you a little extra polish as well. He heads into the bench. Not beyond a little chippiness.
Well, we don't know what precipitated that.
Well, he'd take a retaliatory penalty or two as well. And, you know, as the year went on toward the end of the Hockey season, when he was banged up a little bit, he'd get whacked, and you could draw him into a retaliatory penalty, and that was a problem of his in high school. He'd pretty much cured it as a freshman. Few signs of it as he got more and more press. People sort of took more and more runs at him, and he.
Here's LeClaire, the defenseman from the right point. Kylina behind the net. Tries to clear the zone. It does hop over the stick of LeClaire.
He finally gave Minnesota a shot on goal.
Here's Kylina back in his own end. Lina had that hat trick, had only 4 goals in the season until they played Lake State, and he ran that total up to 7 in one game.
He takes an icing right here as he tries to hit O'Sullivan going down the right wing side.
Well, Saturday afternoon, the winner of this game gets the Black Bears of Maine for the National Championship of College Hockey in Division I. You'll see it on ESPN at 1:30 Eastern. That's 10:30 a.m. Pacific time. Maine against either Boston University or Minnesota. We know that now, and you'll see it on ESPN. And remember, the 4 teams in this semifinal. Minnesota has 3 titles. BU has 3. Maine won their first 2 years ago. Can they do it again? We'll find out.
The winner in triple overtime tonight, and real triple overtime. 2 of the 20-minute variety and 1 about a minute.
Minnesota controlled the face-off, and Scott Bell got a shot away, but deflects into the crowd.
Yeah, very difficult to defend when you have a right shot lined up on the left wing face-off side. It's when he moves off the hash mark, the defender on the inside can't play him, and Scott Bell rolls from the left side to the right side, gets a shot off on net. See, he's going to move back there off that hash mark, and the right wing for BU can't defend it. Comes right over behind the plate.
Ryan Kraft wins the face-off, and Bell another shot, and Herlowski saw it all the way and made the save.
Well, see, he can't defend that. If he got up tighter where he was right next to a defender on the inside, the defensive right wing, he could tie him up a little bit. But in this case, you see, he rolls right back, get the draw back, come back behind the goal line. See, Greer's reaching for him because Bell lined up off the hash mark, which he can do, makes it impossible for Greer to defend him. To get the draw, it's a pretty nice play.
0-0 our score. First period tonight from Providence, Rhode Island, Boston University, and the Minnesota Golden Gophers on the news. An icing on BU as Greer reached for it but couldn't touch up.
That was one of the things that came to professional hockey and college hockey from all the experience with the Europeans. Playing players on the off-wing side, it used to be that a right wing played on the right wing side and a left wing played on the left wing side, and the twain didn't meet very often.
Left-hand shot.
But they saw the advantages, as we see Kylina talking about Europeans. They saw the advantage of the shooter coming down the side with the net to his shot side. Left shot coming down the right side, or in that case, coming back behind the faceoff.
Face-off for the Boston University end. Terriers control it. Rich Brennan lofts it out of his own zone. Down towards the goal, forcing Callahan to play it. Treble is hounded by Pandolfo at his own end. Bates is in the area. Pandolfo fails to take it away. Treble tries to clear, comes back in momentarily. Now it's Danny Woog to Hendrickson. Hendrickson carries into the BU zone onside. Backhands to the corner for Hankinson. Casey Hankinson, and the Boston University player Brennan falls on the puck. And sticks and tempers begin to rise, but the officials will break it up. 8:48 to go in the first period from Providence tonight. Still no score. If the building seems quiet, I think partly the fans are worn out from cheering for that first game, and secondly, the pace has been rather tepid here early.
Well, 6 shots on goal between both teams with 8:48 remaining in the period. Very much an up and down ice game. With not much sustained action in either team's end.
Berkeley out in the corner for Minnesota. Deep in the BU end, tries to make something happen, but he's double and triple teamed, and the puck is taken away by Chris Drury. Drury gets it to center for Ken Roush. Roush had the goal in overtime to beat Minnesota back in December. Feeble-Corn took a turnover and hit the goalie Herlowski right in the chest protector.
See, this is not the kind of pace that helps BU.
Brink in on Herlowski, and he will cover up. What do you mean by that, Bob?
Well, when you play a game that is basically up and down the ice, and you don't spend, for instance, BU is having a lot of difficulty penning Minnesota in Minnesota's defensive end. No sustained forechecking by BU against Minnesota. Really, Minnesota not able to sustain much against BU. But BU can get into this kind of up and down game, and it sort of lulls them to sleep. They have periods where when they get in this style of play, they just forget what got them to this position in terms of the season, and you can get them off their feet a little bit. And that's what I think Minnesota's done in the first period. 8:20 to go. BU has not played its game yet.
We'll see if that changes. Puck loose at center. Kylina sent it ahead, and Minnesota comes back with it. McHugh over to Brian Bonin. Bonin winds up, takes the shot, gets his own rebound. Another shot. Herlowski the same, and he sticks it to the corner. Bonin stayed with it. Almost paid off. Here's Bonin again through traffic. Rebound goes just wide. Is that McHugh? Bonin took the majority of the shots, and that was McHugh, number 19, following up.
I think Dave Larson might have had a shot in there as well, a junior out of South St. Paul, but that line of Bonin, McHugh, and Larson, the top line for the Gophers of Minnesota, draw BU into a penalty situation. Coleman for Boston University going off for cross-checking. Keep your eye on number 26. There's the play right in front of the net. Herlowski with the save right there. What a spectacular save that was. Little feed in front, off the skate of the defenseman Coleman. McHugh with the rebound. Herlowski, great save, and Coleman went off 2 minutes for cross-checking.
At 12:04, so the Golden Gophers with the night's first power play. They win the face-off. Treble gets it over to Kraft. Back to Treble. Fires. Herlowski stick save. Crowley keeps it alive. Bonin with McHugh out there. Bonin on the backhand. Herlowski off balance. Ends up behind the net. 1:43 to go on the power play.
59-250 is Minnesota on power play. 24%, ninth in the country.
Here's Danny Treble, top of the faceoff circle. The rebound swatted aside by Herlowski.
Herlowski's leaving some pretty attractive rebounds out in front, having trouble on the initial shot control.
Treble shot deflects just wide. Now it's Ryan Kraft. Kraft back to Treble. Quickly down low to Bonin. Bonin passes over, shot and a score for Minnesota. Power play goal, Mike Crowley.
I think Dan Hendrickson's going to get this goal on the left wing side.
Is it Hendrickson?
I think so. We'll have to see the call. But you're going to see Boston University get way over on this side of the ice, the left side of the ice. Puck's going to go out to the point. Keep your eye on the right corner. The shot comes in on net. Right here, watch. Off that side, coming toward the net. Everybody has it blocked off inside. But he's just going to go right to the front of the net, open side. No one can tie it up. I think it's Hendrickson. But anyway, it's a power play goal for Minnesota, 1-0.
We'll have to wait and see. It appeared to me that it was number 20, Mike Crowley, and they still have not made an official announcement.
Well, you might be right.
Puck behind the Boston University net. Herlowski plays it.
At my age, it's easy to mistake a 9 for 0.
Well, these shirts that Minnesota has, half the kids have them tucked in. It's hard to tell. It wrinkles up the numbers, and what would look like a 9 if it was left to drape like it usually should could scrunch up to be a 0. You notice they all like to wear it like Gretzky does, with half in and half out. I wonder why that is. Boston University in the Minnesota end. And they give the goal to Crowley.
You're right. Mike Crowley gets the goal.
Into the corner. Bonin will get one assist on that goal. And Treble the other. So Crowley from Bonin and Treble on the power play, and it's 1-0 Minnesota.
That's goal number 11 of his freshman season.
11th goal of the freshman year for Crowley of Minnesota. Here's a loose puck in the center ice area, picked up nicely there by Boston University into the Minnesota end behind the Golden Gopher net. Drury goes for it in the corner. Chris Drury looking. Goes over to Coleman, number 26. Coleman's play is broken up and back to center for Bell. Bell for Ryan Kraft. Kraft puts one in on Herlowski, who covers up a rebound again.
Hey, take a look at Mike Crowley and what a year he's had out of Bloomington Jefferson High School. WCHA Rookie of the Year. Number 10 in the country in points by a defenseman. He's only a freshman. Very gifted playmaker. That puck goes in on goal, and he just comes in from that left side. Now that's Thornton, is usually an excellent cover guy, just misses him, just works his way in front of the net and just bangs that rebound in. Michael Crowley, Bloomington Jefferson.
Well, Minnesota, they took, as I said, they opened the hard road here. They beat RPI. I guess they were somewhat expected to do that in the Western Regional, but a lot of people didn't think they had a shot against Colorado College. They ousted the regular season WCHA champ.
Coach Woog at the beginning of the game was talking about how everybody counted them out of this game, but I'll tell you, they're right in the hunt here. This tempo is not the BU's liking at all. They're down 1-0, and they do not look sharp.
Brennan for Boston University gives to LaChance in the corner. LaChance gets it out to Prendergast, but Prendergast was not positioned right to receive it. Back the other way comes McHugh from Minnesota on the right wing. He's got Bonning cruising down the slot, but LaChance back checking takes it away. LaChance and Brennan 2-on-2 into the Minnesota zone. Cross for Brennan. He's covered. He'll pull up and look. Behind the net for Jacques Joubert. Joubert trying to hit Prendergast coming in low. Johnson, Chad Johnson, and Callahan got a piece of it, then didn't know where it went. Back to the point is where it went. Wood the shot, and Callahan saw that one. He's got a quick glove hand. 4 minutes, 57 seconds to go in the first period. A power play goal by the Gophers has them on top 1-0.
Jeff Callahan, nifty stop there on Doug Wood from the right point. Callahan out of Mound, Minnesota, led the WCHA in goals against average.
Of course, all the Minnesota kids, the entire roster out of the state of Minnesota, something they're justifiably proud of in the land of 10,000 lakes. Thornton tries to play for BU behind the Minnesota net, broken up, and Bell carries the center.
Pretty good job by Checo there in front of the net, tying up Greer. Boston University. Thornton behind the goal line tried to feed it to him, but Checo had him tied up in front.
Doug Wood goes back behind his own net for BU, rips around the boards. Bell intercepts, and Wood has to go back again. Comes to center. Mike Greer tries to break it up, cannot. Now O'Sullivan carries it onside. Greer is on the left wing, but the pass doesn't get to him. Bell for Minnesota lifts it out. Loose at center. This is Kelleher. Terriers dump it in behind the Minnesota net. Callahan leaves it for a teammate. A teammate is Leclerc. He's bodied off by Pandolfo. Pandolfo looks to center, but center's right on the stick of a Minnesota player. We're going to have a whistle as bodies were banging in the corner to the left of Callahan. I believe a holding or an interference.
Yeah, it's going to be an interference call on Minnesota. Boston University is going to go on power play. Holding. Thought the original signal he gave was interference. Bates, who's a bit of a disturber, gets held right there. You can see the holding penalty right there. Charlie Walsley, rather, the right defenseman out of Edina, Minnesota, played in the U.S. Junior Hockey League with the St. Paul's Vulcans, and Walsley goes off for holding Boston University on power play. I have a second here. We can talk about, before we head into the power play, some of the differences between this game and the pro game for those who may be new to college hockey. The two basic differences: automatic icing. You don't have to touch it to get an icing call. Automatic icing. And there is no two-line offside pass in college hockey. In the pros, if you come out and you're inside your own blue line and the pass crosses your defensive blue line and the red line, that's a two-line offside pass. That's an illegal pass. Not so in college hockey.
And you see a lot of visors in the National Hockey League. You don't see too many full cages except for goalies, but they're mandatory in the college game.
That's right.
The helmet and the cage. So therein lies some of the differences. Face off in the Minnesota end. Boston U down by a goal, but with the power play, Dan Treble for Minnesota ices the puck legally. When you're down a man short, of course, everywhere you get to ice it. Kai Lina behind his own net. Lina is out there with Coleman. Jacques Joubert, LaChance, Prendergast. Here's Kai Lina cruising in. He's got a good shot, but he's cut off there in the slot. Lina back to Coleman. Coleman gets it back. Lina. He'll throw it towards the net. On the stick of Joubert, and he scores, and we're tied at 1. Jacques Joubert, the BU fans stand and applaud.
Boston University gets pretty good pressure here on the inside. Excellent puck movement. Watch over here on the right side. It's going to come from that side. Joubert's going to be right over there. Now watch. Here's a shot by Lina. Here comes Joubert right there. Wide open side. Upstairs. Watch it. Upstairs. Get it up. He got it up. 1-1. Lina gets a high percentage of his shots just like this. Right on goal and low. LaChance, big screen on the inside. They just can't move him out of there, and he disturbed the goalie. Zwackman was trying to get him out of there, but LaChance screamed, and Jacques Joubert has it right to the right of the net and put it in for Joubert. Goal number 28, number 11 on power play.
So the game is tied at 1. Here's Ryan Kraft as we speak, putting one in on Herlowski, who just got a piece of that. And you're right, Derek Herlowski has given up some rebounds. He's fortunate that time that nobody there on the slide.
Well, that's been a bit of a trend for him in the latter part of the season. He's not been very solid in terms of shots to the outside. There's Lena. LaChance in front with the screen. No chance at all for Callahan. The only thing he's got to do is get it upstairs. And sometimes, as hard as you try and as big as that open part of the net looks, you just can't make the upper. You know, you can't roof it.
Time of the goal, 16:43. Joubert from Kailina and John Coleman. Under 3 minutes to go here in the first period, tied at 1. Winner takes on Maine for the national title Saturday afternoon. Here's Thornton up to Greer, just over his stick, and Callahan has to scoop it and hang on.
Whoa.
What a sight that is, barreling in at you if you're a goaltender.
Well, he had an idea there, and you can see what Greer has that just is not normal in a package of 240-some-odd pounds. He has tremendous acceleration. Watch him shoot the gap there with superb acceleration. That pass just misses. Callahan puts the puck away for the faceoff, and Greer. You see a picture right there that when you look at him, you say, what does he do that others don't do? He's a big guy, this, that, and the other thing. He's got real quick feet, and he's got superb hands.
Face off for the Minnesota end. Kelleher from the left point trying to lob it in. Hit the traffic in front and comes out. This is Dustin ahead to Bertliot. Behind the VU net. Dustin in the corner. Bertliot crashes in. Dustin still vying for it. He's tied up there in front. Bertliot shoots and scores, and what a play by Dustin. What a play by number 11, Bobby Dustin. Gets the puck to Bertliot, and he beats Herlovsky.
Bobby Dustin out of Roseville, Minnesota, fourth-line goal. VU gets themselves a little confused in the defensive end, and that puck is just moved in front of Bertliot. They converge on Dustin. No one has Bertliot. In-zone defensive breakdown. Herlovsky gets beat near side. Early on, Herlovsky does not look real sharp.
So it is 2-1 Minnesota. That's an even strength goal. And Dustin will get the assist. Maybe there'll be one other, but we know that Jesse Bertliot gets the goal. And for Bertliot, his second goal of the season. What a time to get it.
Well, whenever you get a goal out of the fourth line, that's a huge bonus.
Puck down behind the Minnesota net. Sylvia is there for VU trying to wreak havoc, but Minnesota carries back out to center. Dan Woog is there. Woog on the right wing, gets behind Kylina to the corner. And a loose stick almost wound up in the crowd. That's where actually some room under. Moved up the bench. VU with a 4-on-3 situation here. Coleman lobs it to the corner. Centering pass is intercepted by Minnesota. Pandolfo behind the net. Boston University, Brennan at his own end.
Dustin got the only assist, as you thought, Tom. Bertliot, his second goal. Seldom do you see BU's fourth line. BU scored by an opponent's fourth line, scored on by an opponent's fourth line, and Bertliot's second goal of the season.
And Dustin did great work, not only getting the puck to Bertliot, but the work in the corner to maintain possession and fight for it. That's the stuff you don't see in any newspaper box score.
Well, then he drew a crowd. You see, that drew the defensive breakdown where the crowd came to him, and that's what enabled Bertliot to score because he was left alone in the slot.
Final minute of play in the period. Here comes Joubert. He's onside with Prendergast. In the pass, and the shot is wide. Perfectly executed, but Prendergast didn't put it home.
Yeah, tough angle to make that pass and reception.
Here's Prendergast again. In front, deflection. Just wide. LaChance got his stick on it. Under 25 seconds to go in the period. Now VU is cruising in the Minnesota zone. The Gophers just want to clear the puck out of the zone. They have not yet done that with under 15 seconds to play. Here's LaChance. Gets it back to the point. Wood with a shot. He scores!
Well, Wood got the goal, but Bobby LaChance made an unbelievable pass. Time running out late in the period. 9 seconds left to go. LaChance, Tommy hasn't had a goal since February, but he's been dishing the puck off as he does here. Wood's got a gun out of Madion High School. Puck high over the shoulder, and Bobby LaChance, you see right inside there. Back pass to the far point. Through traffic, a slider, up over the shoulder. The goaltender Callahan never saw it till it hit the twine in the back. Now watch right here. Watch this pass. Oh, what a beauty. What a beauty. No chance.
And at 19 minutes, 51 seconds, with 9 seconds to go in the period, a big, big goal, and it has to be a big lift for Boston University, who, as I agree with you, the tempo hasn't been theirs in the first period, but they'll skate off here, even up. For the Golden Gophers of Minnesota, I think kudos to both teams. Minnesota forcing the tempo, and BU able to come back.
Well, BU's very, very fortunate to walk out of here with a 2-2 score. They have not played well. That's not the way Boston University plays. Too many plays broken up at center ice and just across the line. This is a team that plays its best when it gets the puck in deep. Give credit to Coach Woog and the Minnesota Golden Gophers. They're playing a style of game that's kept them in the hunt here.
Doug Woog and the Golden Gophers has something to think about as they go in the locker room. They gave up a goal with under a minute, heck, under 10 seconds left in the period. That one by Wood, and that's the end of the time. We're tied at 2. Reese Davis in the Sports Match coming up. Providence Civic Center, Providence, Rhode Island, semifinal game number 2, the NCAA College Hockey Tournament, and of course it's tied because we haven't been able to decide anything all day except that we couldn't eat dinner at a regular hour. Maine and Michigan went to triple overtime. I mean the NHL-style triple overtime.
2 20s and then change in the third one.
A little bit of change before they got things done. Now here we are with 2 periods to go, and I look. This is 2-2. We don't need this, do we?
Well, this game in that first period was certainly played at a pace that Minnesota can hang in here all game long and try to steal the thing. Boston University is big and strong and very physical, but they've neutralized the physical part of the play because Boston University has carried the puck too much in center zone, making plays across the blue line, and as a result, Minnesota's been able to break that stuff up and transition the other way. I'm sure Coach Parker told these guys between periods, get the puck in deep, where you can use your physical presence to cause Minnesota to turn it over. Easier said than done sometimes. We'll see if they do that.
Now, reprising game 1, in case you missed it or haven't heard about it, you probably were on the moon. This thing went triple overtime. We're tied at 3, just seconds into the third. Sudden as overtime. In the Michigan zone, comes out. Shermer Horn, his second goal of the game, and the longest college hockey playoff game in history, and the second longest game, period, in history, ends in a Maine victory.
And it's just amazing how often it happens that you have a face-off breakdown in zone that causes you to lose a game like that. We've seen a tremendous saves by both goaltenders, tremendous play up and down the ice, great opportunities. It's an in-zone face-off that kills you, and those of us who've coached the game for years will tell you that those are the times that you're in your most peril when you're in an in-zone face-off situation. You've got to take the center, and that you can see right there. If you don't do anything else, you have to neutralize the center, because the center is the one that 9 times out of 10, when he gets loose like Sherman did there, just kills you.
And you have to feel for Ed Berenson and all those Michigan kids. You have to feel sad for them as glad as you do for Sean Walsh and the Maine kids.
Well, you know, you're just very disappointed for a great Michigan team and very elated for a great Maine team, but neither team should have lost the game. It's like all of a sudden, if you could do it, you walk out in the third period and say, hey, guys, you know, you guys have done enough. This is the tie. But that's not the way it is, and Michigan ends up with another disheartening loss. But it's a loss. You know, there's sometimes you lose and you look back and you say, well, we didn't play hard. Oh. We didn't play well, but boy, in that game, Michigan lost. But they've got to, you know, they've got to take something out of that game that helps their program, because they played with tremendous character, and their goaltender was just something else.
Turco, yeah.
Oh, something else. Turco.
Okay, play back on. Boston University quickly. Prendergast the shot, and Callahan goes down to make a save.
Changing tone right away. They're not going to mess around with that puck, I can tell you that. Jack's seen enough plays made through center ice, and pucks lost at the offensive blue line. They're going to get it in deep.
Here's Crowley from Minnesota. Golden Gophers take it into the BU zone for the first time. It's ruled onside. Goes to the corner. Puck behind the net. With it now is Larson. Larson quickly over for a shot by Brian Bonin. It was blocked off by the defense, and out comes loose to center.
See how Minnesota reacts to the late goal by Boston University, and it doesn't look like it's lessened their intensity any, as they've come out with pretty good legs here at the beginning of the second period. We just started, 19-20 remaining, 2-2 score. BU scored very, very late in the first period. Doug Wood is 6 from Bob LaChance, and Jacques Joubert with only, I believe, 9 seconds to go in the period. Is that what it was, 1951?
Yeah, not yet. 1951 was a good year. And a good time for Boston University to score. The faceoff just outside the BU end. Boston University as a program making its 21st appearance in the NCAA Ice Hockey Championship. in the postseason play. And 3 national titles to their credit. The last one was won right here in this building. That's a good omen. Minnesota would like to break that thinking up. Fell behind the BU net. Checo gets it back to the point. The quick shot hits traffic in front. The shot by Brink.
Minnesota's doing a very good job of forcing BU in center zone to dump the puck in and to move it before they want to.
Andy Brink guilty of giving the puck up as he was back checking or backtracking at his own slot, and almost another giveaway in the Minnesota end. Callahan has it hop over his stick. Mike Greer goes to the corner, and icing will be the call, or offside the call, on the Boston University Terriers. Well, tonight at midnight on the Deuce, 9 o'clock Pacific time, San Diego, California, the site. America's Cup coverage. ESPN's award-winning coverage is back. This year's coverage includes the Challenger semifinals and selected Defender semifinal races. It's all unfolding over the next 2 months, only on ESPN2 and ESPN. That's tonight at midnight Eastern, 9 Pacific time.
It's only beyond the auto races that you might see a wreck. Now the America's Cup, anytime you'll have one of those boats not make it. Well, they've had troubles.
I'll tell you, it's been a rough sea out there. Fortunately, we can joke because fortunately nobody was.
Absolutely. Very fortunate.
All right, Sean Bates carries into the Minnesota zone. You're right there about that video. I think that was one of the most, overly played videos we've seen in a while because it's so unusual. There's a shot by Wansley, rebound, and it's just kicked wide. Oh, Herlosky was a bit fortunate there.
Oh, a bit fortunate. He was hugely fortunate as he just left a terrible one right out in the slot. Derek is a very, very good goaltender and has had a great career at Boston University, but he just flat out does not look sharp tonight as he leaves this one right in front. Minnesota can't convert. They're on the backhand coming into the zone, can't make the play, and the goal goes off the moorings. Whistle blows. Oh, boy.
Danny Hendrickson.
Yeah, Hendrickson had the chance off the backhand. His brother, Darby, played at Minnesota as well.
Now in the district hall, I understand, to the Toronto Maple Leafs, the National Hockey League, playing in the American League. Okay, play back on. Boston University dumps it in the Minnesota end, but it's picked up there by Charlie Wansley and dumped right back out again with 2 minutes and 15 seconds gone here in the second period.
We had a chance to talk to Jack Parker before the game about his goaltender out of Edison High School in Minneapolis, Derek Herlosky.
And he said he knew that Herlosky would be up and ready for this challenge.
Yeah, I think he'll be jacked up even more than the normal guy would be in the semifinals of the national tournament. Hopefully he doesn't think he has to put on too good a show for his hometown folks, but I think he did a great job in Minneapolis last couple of months ago when we played him. And we've been rotating the guys, and he's played real well down the stretch.
And Herlosky, Jack is right. He did play very, very well back on New Year's Eve as White puts a backhand in, and Callahan has to steer it aside. In the Minnesota end, BU keeps it in there. A shot by Wright is a score! Wright is in the top shelf, and BU takes a 3-2 lead. The goal line a bit late coming on. So Matt Wright, who's been famous tonight for throwing his body around, throws the puck around to the top of the net.
This is where they have to play in deep. Matt Wright gets this puck loose from the sideboards. Going to come to the front of the net. He and Drury. Now watch Drury make the play. Here's Wright. Going to come right through the middle. Drury on the left side. Roush on the right. Puck going middle. Watch it. There's Wright. Snaps it upstairs. Underneath the bar. Excellent forechecking. This is what they have to do. Get it in deep. Use the body against the boards. Right. Little flipper. Deflects off the stick and goes underneath the bar.
It deflected off a defenseman's stick.
But that line has been doing very, very well. Wright had the winning goal in the Hockey East final against Providence, and for Wright, that's his 7th goal of the season, and goals have been coming from the 3rd and 4th lines recently for BU.
So the Boston University Terriers have a 3-2 lead. And the partisan BU crowd is happy about that here in Providence, only about 50 or so miles from the Boston University campus. Golden Gophers try and clear it out of the zone, can't do it. Rich Brennan sends it into the corner. Back to center on the stick of Brennan.
Boston University goal scored by number 22, Matt Wright.
Loose in the Minnesota end again. Prendergast pinched in a little bit to the blue line, but now it comes out to Brian Bodden for Minnesota. Bodden surrounded by Terriers, just dumps it in for a change. Drury and Rouse Roush get the assist on that, Bob, on right 7th of the season.
Time of the goal?
Time of the goal, 2 minutes, 31 seconds. Now Minnesota threatening. The shot hits traffic in front, comes back to the point. Zwackman keeps it in. They're on the left wing boards. This is Bell with it. Bell gets some space for himself, takes the shot. Herlosky gives up another rebound, but falls on it as it dribbles in front. Boy, he just got a piece of that right arm of the stick on it and fell on the rebound. 16-15 left to go in the second, and I don't think we've seen the last goal scored in this game by a long shot. Well, the Boston University bench is a happy group, and why not? They come from behind in this game to take a 3-2 lead.
And it's going the same way as it's gone recently. 2 of the 3 goals coming from unusual places. Wright has one, and Doug Wood has another one. Wright, his 7th goal of the season, and Wood is 6th.
Here come the Terriers into the zone again. Greer steaming down the slot. Kelleher tried to get it to him, was broken up. Boy, Greer, whenever he steps into the offensive zone, it's immediate double team.
Well, tying him up is an adventure. I mean, you just don't do it easily.
I wouldn't want to try.
With Boston University is having a little more success getting the puck in deep against Minnesota. This is more their game. Have the puck behind the goal line. Give them a chance to forecheck and counterattack, although Minnesota breaks this one out smartly.
And Bell enters the BU zone, but only momentarily. Kylina breaks that up, and here comes Greer.
The dump in. And you know, between periods, Coach Parker said, if you don't have an advantage on the rush, get it in deep. We can put the pressure on these guys and use our size advantage.
Pandolfo at center has it taken away nicely by Dan Woog, but retaken.
Dump it in again.
And there goes Bates in the corner.
They want to press him up against the wall as much as possible.
Minnesota breaks out. With it is Casey Hankinson momentarily. Now Danny Woog from center ice, and Herlosky taking no chances. Will cover up just in front of the crease. 5 minutes into the second period. Well, you take a look at what's going to happen Saturday. The question mark is the fact that we don't know the winner of this game, and for a long time we didn't know the winner of the bottom game, but it turned out to be Maine.
Well, when you get to this level, any game at that in that final is going to be a great game. Maine, Minnesota, or Maine against Boston University. We're talking about the premier programs in the country. We're not talking about a Swiss cheese final.
Maybe you would if you're in Wisconsin.
That's right, hit Wisconsin. Talked to Jeff Sauer. He's going to be coaching the U.S. team in the World Games. Had a chance to chat with him last night. He's excited about that.
Face off at the BU end. Wright clears the zone. Dump into the Boston University zone. Wisconsin, all the same colors. Brennan behind the Minnesota net. Now comes back the other way to LeClaire. LeClaire back to Wisely. Has it hop over his stick, and Drury is in his face immediately. This period much more to the liking as far as pace for Boston University.
B is going to get this 4th line a little more ice time, too. They're out here again.
And a whistle stops play. 14:26 left to go here in the second period.
Kenny Roush, number 16, a walk-on out of Immaculate High School in Danbury, Connecticut, had 2 goals against Minnesota in the Mariucci Classic. You know, a guy who hadn't done much in terms of offense coming into his senior year at all. He's been a great role player. And this season, he was also the MVP of the Beanpot. And I'll guarantee you, when Kenny Roush came up to BU and came down Commonwealth Ave from Danbury, Connecticut, he never in a million years thought he was going to be MVP of the Beanpot, but hard work and effort.
And he looks just like Kai Lena without his helmet on. I went to the locker room after Lena had the hat trick against Lake State to congratulate him, and I thought I saw him, and I really saw Kenny Roush. I said, Kai, great game. He goes, well, you mean that guy across the way? And he pointed over to Lena, and I thought I was looking at a double. Up behind the Minnesota net. Now it's Bonnet of Minnesota. Has it taken away nicely by LaChance. Prendergast on the right wing boards. Nothing in the slot, so he'll dump to the corner. Bonnet behind his own net. Minnesota trying to penetrate the BU zone, but Larson was triple teamed. He's onside, in front. Down is Herlosky, and nobody there to get it up over him.
Boy, that puck deflected right toward the net, and Herlosky, who was sort of down and out, reached out with a stick. Nifty stop.
Crowley enters the BU zone again. Herlosky sticks it niftily to the corner to his left. There's Sullivan is back for it. Off his stick. Up to Doug Wood. Wood in on Callanan. Routine stick save. Now it's Brink out to the center. Brink the defenseman, pinching in down low. Gets it back to Hall. Rather Bell. Bell behind the net. Thornton takes him out. Kylina with it for BU up to number 3, Chris O'Sullivan. Mike Greer loses control of the puck. Zwackman will try and take him out of the play, but that doesn't do it.
Yeah, Zwackman made a nice little play with the stick. Just sort of swept it away from a little piece of that puck and knocked it to the corner.
That's the way to go with him. Stick checks and poke checks. You try to use your body, you're in for a long night.
Yeah, try to make sure you stay off the boards.
Yeah. And always skate with your head up. Coleman and Kylina back in the BU zone. Off the stick of Sylvia. Turnover at center ice. Minnesota immediately enters with Bell. Orlovsky out of his net to stick it around for Sylvia. Sylvia over to Lena.
More dump-ins halfway through this period. You saw the whole first period. You want to play this game in deeper.
Bell on the left wing for Minnesota. Bell with Brennan on him, and Brennan takes it away nicely, but puts it on the stick of Zwackman, who dumps back in.
One of the things that Minnesota has done defensively is even when BU has dumped the puck in, they've been doing a pretty good job of getting the puck out of the zone without BU being able to beat them to the puck and put pressure on.
Sylvia trying to get it to Bates, comes out to center. Bertleon is on it for Minnesota, but loses his balance and falls. Gophers still knock it into the BU zone. A weird bounce off the boards. Boston University still manages to clear it. And one of the referees is down and hurt. Hopefully not seriously. We'll check it out. 3-2 BU. Back in a moment.
Well, referee Hearn got himself in the way of that clearing pass. It wasn't a bounce off the boards. We didn't see the referee down there by the goal line. It was a bounce off the referee. Caught him right in the knee. They have a backup referee here. They do have knee pads, not the kinds of shin guards that the players wear, but still knee protection. But he took a pretty good whack right there.
Flexing it, and I'm sure he's being asked by the trainer who came off the Boston University bench if he's able to go.
Well, there aren't too many of these young guys going to take themselves out of a NCAA semifinal in front of a full house if they can help it. If he can skate, he's going to go.
Well, we have some time. Let's take a look at some of the physical action. Not only the players have some damage done to them, but the equipment as well. Look at the... Now that's a little space in between the panes of glass. Now watch out. Bang. That's why they have a little separation there. It gives the players a little cushion as they come in.
Well, if you were taking hits up against in the old days when they had those chain link fences around the rinks, it was not as much give as these have. You hit the glass here the way it's set up now, there's a little bit of a cushion as there is with the boards.
Well, Mr. Hearn is up and skating around. Fortunately, he's okay, and hopefully nothing more than a bad bruise, and play will continue.
Matt Wright's goal at 2:31 of the second period is 7th from Chris Drury and Kenny Roush give Boston University a 3-2 lead. 2-2 at the end of the first.
Face-off will come outside the BU zone.
That fourth line's out again there, Tom. You know, we've seen them quite a bit. Now you just think that Coach Parker seeing that they're putting on some pressure and getting some good chances. He's putting them out there.
Bertleon's line is out as well for Minnesota. Wright off the stick of Drury, taken away by Bertleon, up and right on the stick of Wood for BU. Wood and Drury get tangled up with each other. Back behind the Minnesota net, Wisely plays it around the right side and out the center. Long shot by Bertleon in on the goaltender Herlovsky.
Teams have better control now, handling the rebounds better, moving them off to the corner, putting the puck where he wants to put it, not just putting it where it happens to go.
Going on behind the BU net. Up the left wing boards, LaChance and Jacques Joubert. And Joubert comes away with it. Joubert, the team captain for the Terriers, taken out of the play nicely by Crowley. And with it from Minnesota is Dan Treble behind his own net. 3-2, Boston University winner. This game takes on Maine for the national title Saturday afternoon. Beeblethorn on an assist. Make that Hendrickson, I'm sorry, on an assist, and a shot on Herlovsky. Didn't see who took that shot. Herlovsky was falling down. Here's Crowley at his own end. Over the stick of Justin McHugh. Still loose at center. LaChance falling down, trying to get it to Greer. Now Crowley for Minnesota. Greer at center ice. Thornton up to Lena. Lena will take it deep from time to time.
If he has the break, he'll go with it. BU does a pretty good job of covering up in the point. That time O'Sullivan picked up Felina on the rush. If the defenseman gets caught in deep or makes the rush, it's in front of a wing or a center. Somebody's supposed to cover for him. The wing to the side the defenseman goes in on is supposed to cover.
Here's Wagner with a shot, and Herlowski looked to his right, but the puck was right in front of him, and he covers up in the crease.
Dougie Woog is proud of the fact that this Minnesota Gopher team is filled with guys from the state of Minnesota.
We're very proud of our program there, and it is the unique program in the whole country in that it has all American players and has all players that were born and raised and played their high school hockey and junior hockey in Minnesota.
Truly unusual, and I think something rightfully so to be proud of.
You know, there are some of the kids that played in the North American Junior Hockey League, some junior hockey, but for the most part, and this is highly unusual, almost all these kids are right out of public high schools in the state of Minnesota. Not even U.S. Junior League. So this Minnesota team, if you went through the ages, I'm sure is younger than most of the teams in this tournament.
And everybody plays in Minnesota. I mean, all the guys seemingly play on the hockey team when they go to high school. Even Kevin McHale, when he was going to high school in Hibbing, Minnesota, the great Celtic star, liked to play hockey. Lunch is back in the Minnesota end. Can you imagine him, 6'11" on skates? Drury knocks it into the Minnesota zone.
Local hockey area.
Kraft lofted it ahead for Bell, but Bell had one thing in mind, and that was knocking heads with Wood, and that he did. Brink behind the Minnesota net. Only one goal in this period, that off the stick of Matt Wright, Boston University, with some help from a Minnesota defenseman stick. Here's Checo with a center ice turnover for Minnesota, but Kelleher back in plenty of time for BU. 8.5 minutes to go in the period. Bonnet, long cross ice pass. McHugh has it. And then Larson has it, takes a heavy hit. Larson still with it. Crowley cruises in. He's onside. He shoots. Herlowski way out of his net, but nobody there for a rebound. And the applause from the crowd. Now BU the other way. LeChance, a pass to right in the slot. The shot and the save by Callanan keeps it a 3-2 hockey game. A spurt of energy and a scoring chance for each side. 8:02 left in the period.
Watch Kelleher on the right boards and see what he does. Watch where he comes to make this play. This puck is going to go over to Crowley. Kelleher down on the ice. Puck is going to work toward the middle. Crowley's going to find a lot of open ice. And here comes Kelleher sliding. Helps Herlowski with that save. Great hustle play by Kelleher. Chris Kelleher, the freshman defenseman out of St. Sebastian.
McHugh stays on side for Minnesota as there was a center ice turnover, but Brian Bonnet can't handle the puck. Kylina behind his own net over to O'Sullivan. O'Sullivan has it hopped over his stick. Down too deep there was Dave Larson, so he'll try and take it behind and make a play there. Larson in the corner. Back to the point to Crowley. Over the stick of Larson, and still having his stick held is McHugh. Coleman did a good job delaying him.
Nice move there to make that play and move the puck around the board.
Greer just lets one go from a bad angle, but actually fans on it. And the puck is loose at center. Here comes Berkeley out into the zone. Has one goal, has two goals on the night. Or correction, not Berkeley out. Dan Hendrickson, number 29. Hendrickson has tied this game up. His fourth goal of the season. Jack Parker's Terriers have been tied again by Minnesota.
Dan Hendrickson's going to get this goal, and I think what happens here is Herlowski never gets set to make this save. Hendrickson going to the move. Herlowski going left. Very tough shot. He starts moving left, and the puck comes back against the grain. He just can't get back to make the save.
Well, he saw that all the way. Would you classify that as a weak goal?
Well, it's a weak goal because the goaltender's got to be in better control to be able to come back and make that weak side play. Very difficult, though, to be starting to move left and then have to come back right to make the save. But that was up high, and I'm sure if Orlovsky had I'd like to have it back again, because with a high shot like that, he had a chance to get the shoulder on it and move a little too aggressively to the left before the shot was taken.
Well, Hendrickson wears Hendrickson wears number 29, and with his shirt scrunched up as he headed down the ice, he looked like Berkeley on 22. That's why I got confused, but let's straighten it out now and give Hendrickson his 4th goal of the season, please. The puck at center, and some high sticks in front of the BU net. Nothing will develop with that. The goal at 12:50. Hendrickson only 1 assist to treble. Well, the national championship game of this college hockey tournament comes away on ESPN Saturday afternoon, 1:30 Eastern, 10:30 a.m. Pacific time. Maine against the winner of this game, and we don't know who that will be. But Bob, you and I will be here to find out.
Now take a look at the goal again. Now watch, when he starts right, see, watch. He's going right, and the shot comes back left. So you catch the goalie going to his left and having to make an adjustment back right. Looks like an easy shot to stop. Probably should have had it, but a little more difficult than it looks.
Minnesota now with it in the corner, and Andy Brink has it in his own zone. Gets it up to center. Berkeley on it. Gets it in behind the Boston University net. Comes back out to center. And as Bobby Dustin has it, we have Kelleher sitting on the back of the net. That draws a whistle.
Yeah, I think what it did is that Kelleher bounced off the back of the net, knocked the net off its mooring, so the referee blew the whistle. Face-off will be at center ice. Hey, in Minnesota, it looked as if the game was going more Boston University's way. There's Chris Kelleher, the freshman out of Belmont, Massachusetts, went to St. Sebastian. His brother Pat was a college hockey player at Brown, later went on to coach at the University of Massachusetts at Boston. As we mentioned the other night, he's managing a rink out in San Jose, California, and I'm sure tuning in.
Is that a dessert?
No. That's the ice that's used to keep the pucks frozen.
I thought it was a fly in my soup there for a minute. Okay, the face-off will be at center ice. Joubert takes it for BU, comes back into the Terrier zone. Lena goes back for it. Lena off the boards, up to Jacques Joubert. Joubert, a lot of open ice till he hits that Minnesota zone. Tries to split the defense and almost gets the job done. Brink let him go. Wackman behind his own net. Prendergast, loose puck in front, through the crease. Down goes Callan, and it's swept aside. Brink behind his own net. Now Callan has a lot of company in that crease, and finally leaving the area was Joubert. Meanwhile, Brink carries into the BU zone, and Herlofsky with a routine glove save for the faceoff.
Fans behind Herlofsky starting to get on a little bit. Derek Herlofsky's a great competitor, and he'll hang into this thing. Joubert's trying to catch Prendergast on the wide side of the net, but can't get the puck across, and it's cleared by Minnesota's defense. Joubert stayed down there for a while. He's going to go down again. You're going to bury him right in front of the goal crease, right in the net. Jacques Joubert went to Princeton as a freshman, transferred. Before he came to BU, went out to Sioux City and played in the U.S. Junior Hockey League, looked around for school to transfer to.
Face-off one to Minnesota's Tremble, and his shot is sticked into the crowd by Herlofsky.
Oh, those in-zone face-offs. Face-off directly back to Dan Treble out of Bloomington, Minnesota. Played his high school hockey at Bloomington Jefferson, and he's a killer. Face-off directly back, and this one comes through traffic. Now, when this puck goes to the point, everybody go to the net. Go to the net. Nice save, Herlofsky.
Face-off again, won by Minnesota. Treble cruises in. Again, a routine shot. Again, Herlofsky saw it, made the save. 5:14 to go here in the second period.
Herlofsky just appears to me that he's fighting the puck a little bit. You know, having seen him as much as I have over the course of the years, he just doesn't seem real fluid tonight. He seems to be fighting.
Here's Thornton for Boston University. Thornton dumps a bouncing puck in behind the net. Greer goes to the corner. He's up in it from behind. A relative paucity of penalties tonight as the puck goes into the Minnesota player bench. We'll have a face-off. And we'll take time out for a commercial message. 4:57 to go here in the second period. The game is tied at 3.
Tom, earlier in the period, I said that I thought at the beginning BU had established a different tempo, but Minnesota's struggling to hang in there, has the flow going more their way again. This is an up-and-down game. They haven't been pinned in their own zone for quite a while, and BU turning Minnesota being able to turn the thing into a center ice game without BU able to sustain extended periods of forechecking pressure.
Play back on at center. Sylvia tries to control for BU. Can't do it. Sean Bates tries. He can't do it. Bell for Minnesota takes it away from him and clears it on into the BU end. And will this be icing? Will not. They wave it off.
Watson waited to see if they're going to wave off the icing before he finally kicked it out of the zone.
Here is Kraft. Ryan Kraft has some help in the slot. Takes the shot himself. Rebound. Hits the post. Bell hit the post. Erlosky never saw him coming. So the Terriers fortunate on that one. Now Sean Bates takes a dive at center ice. They won't call penalty, and I don't think one was called for. Erlosky whips the backhand behind his net. Dan Woog in on Erlosky, and with pressure coming in, Erlosky does the right thing and covers up, but BU very fortunate they're not trailing.
Oh, they sure were. Ryan Kraft, the freshman, all-freshman WCHA team out of Moorhead, Minnesota, makes that move on the right side. Left shot coming down the right side. He's got a lot of net to shoot at. Erlosky makes the save, and Bell comes in, whacks away the rebound, a clanger off the pole. Here it is again. Going to come right into your living room. Almost. Pole.
Doink.
Clang. Ryan Kraft, Moorhead, Minnesota. First team WCHA all-rookie team, along with his freshman compadre Michael Crowley out of Bloomington, Minnesota. Bloomington Jefferson.
Play is on now the Minnesota end, and falling down is the Minnesota defenseman Zwackman. Drury is on it, but couldn't get the centering pass to a teammate. And the Gophers fortunate in their own right, and they recover in their own zone and skate out to center. Brink tried to backhand it into the zone. Drury has it at center ice for BU. Lifts one in, and icing will be the call on Boston University. 3:27 to go in the period.
Well, once again, you see that Boston University is allowing Minnesota to turn this into a center ice game, which neutralizes what O'Sullivan and Thornton and Greer like to do. They're very, very good when they can pressure the defensive end. But if you can play great center zone defense and really clog up the middle, which Minnesota is doing, number one, you neutralize that kind of pressure. And number two, you give yourself counterattack opportunities. You only have to go half the ice.
Faceoff will be in the BU end.
When the other guy's beating you up in your own end and you pick up the puck, you got to go the whole length of the ice. That's tough, but you turn it over the middle, you got half ice to go.
And yet, without Greer and without O'Sullivan on the score sheet, it's still a tie game.
And they've been struggling lately. Those most of the scoring has come from the third and fourth lines.
Again, another in-zone face-off won by Minnesota. McHugh takes a shot off the rebound of a treble shot, but it goes wide of the goal. Prendergast trying to carry it out. Winds up on the stick of a chance at center, but only momentarily. Dan Treble gets the center eventually. McHugh, Larson, and Bonham the top line out for the Golden Gophers. The pass left behind Larson. He couldn't get it, and Jacques Joubert is back for BU. Chance behind the Minnesota net, hops over his stick late here in the second period. Tied at 3. The shot never gets in on Callanan. Shot taken there by BU's number 19, Steve Thornton. Here's Big Greer, gets Callanan out of the way, and he couldn't tuck it home. Oh my goodness, all that reach and those big arms, he couldn't put it in.
I think Larson might have played goalie there and made a great play coming across the goal mouth.
We'll take another look at it as time allows. 2:30 to go in the period. McHugh pulling up. Goes to the corner for Bonham. Bonham behind the BU net. Centers in front, but only BU shirts are there. O'Sullivan at center. Chris O'Sullivan steers around, top of the circle. His shot, though, was effectively altered. Nothing on net. Here comes Kraft back for Minnesota. Checo. Straight in for a hockey player, especially when it's Checo. Kraft into the corner. Kraft. Erlosky steers it around the boards for O'Sullivan. College hockey semifinal action on the Deuce tonight. Maine won this afternoon. Tonight it's BU and Minnesota, and they're tied at 3.
Just moments ago, Boston University had a superb opportunity to put them ahead 4-3 as we head into the third period. Greer works a tuck here coming out of the corner. There's Thornton in front of the net. The puck is going to be deflected over. Greer gets it on the stick. He's going to get Callanan out of the play. Comes to the front of the net. Off the heel of the stick. Larson.
You're
Larson.
right. You're
what
right,
a play. Dave Larson, the junior out of South St. Paul, Minnesota. Goal-saving, back-checking play there. Give him a gold star.
That keeps the game tied at 3 with about a minute and a half left to go here in the second period. Bates tried to break away and get a pass and go on in, but that play was broken up. Now here's Bell behind his own net. Correction, Brink behind his own net. Dumps into the BU zone. No icing called for here. Herlovsky gets it up to teammate Mike Sylvia. Sylvia has to whirl around in his own zone. Falls down, and almost a giveaway there to Casey Hankinson. Nearing the final minute of play here in the second stanza. Blue takes a hard hit after he passes the puck, and he's just down getting up.
I'll tell you, that's a delayed offside call. They're going to call it intentional offside. 55 seconds remaining. I don't think the BU fans too happy with that, but they're going to say it was an intentional offside.
Now explain, why would a team take an intentional offside?
Well, I don't think he did it intentionally. I think what happened was he got stuck down in here in the corner, and he was in a pileup, and when the puck came back in the zone, he wasn't sure how it came back in the zone, whether it was misplayed by Minnesota. I think he just put the stick on the puck, and intentional offside was the call, but they're not going to move it all the way down. They're going to put the signal right at the red line, and that's where the call is made. They're not going to call it an intentional offside. I thought the referee's original signal, didn't you?
Yeah.
Face off down the BU end, but this is a break here for BU, 55 seconds. You don't want to take any face off your own end.
Puck comes down behind the Boston University goal line. Herlovsky pounding his stick on the ice to signal that trouble was near, and BU clears the zone. Reese Davis is standing by with a sports match. He'll come your way at our second intermission. Update us on all the NHL, NBA, and college hoop news, and what Mike Tyson had to say today, and everything else. 40.9 seconds left to go here in the second period.
Boston University needs this line to really come up big.
Ooh, look who's in the audience watching Mike Greer. I think I've seen him before. Mike Keenan, head coach of the St. Louis Blues. The Blues were on the deuce last night, beat the Blackhawks in Chicago 3-1. He caught the first plane for Providence. And there is Mr. Greer.
Bobby Greer to the left.
Play is back on. LaChance. Cross ice to Larson. Larson into the zone. Bonin was in the slot. He got tied up. Jacques Joubert into the corner. Now it's Bonin behind the net. He's got McHugh in the slot, but he's tied up by Joubert. Under 20 seconds to go in the period. Bonin gets it out to McHugh. McHugh double-teamed right away. McHugh desperately trying for possession. The puck is just lying there, and Brennan will lift it out of the zone, and this should do it for the second period. Oh, my goodness. After 40 minutes of play, Bob, we are tied at 3. Is this...
Well, from Minnesota's perspective, this game is going just about the right way for them. It's a up-and-down center ice defense game, and they're not letting Boston University...
Welcome back to the Providence Civic Center in Providence, Rhode Island. We are still tied 3-3 after 2 periods of regulation time. The bracketing, how did these teams, Minnesota and BU, get here? Well, Minnesota, of course, playing BU today, and they'll play the University of Maine. The winner of this game will on Saturday, but BU had to beat Denver in the East Regionals. Minnesota had to beat Colorado College, and it'll be Maine against either Minnesota or BU on Saturday afternoon on ESPN. The NCAA championship game will come your way at 1:30 Eastern and 10:30 a.m. Pacific time. And if it's anything like the game we had on earlier on ESPN, Maine and Michigan, you will not want to miss it. Well, they'd have to make some changes in the ice surfaces when they bring college hockey into professional rinks. This Civic Center is the home ice of the American Hockey League team, the Providence Bruins, farm team of the Boston Bruins. Now, you see the blue line we're using, and you see that little patch of blue to the left of that line. That is where the AHL blue line, the pro blue line would be, and they have to move it up because there's more room behind the goal, isn't there?
What they did was they moved this blue line further inside to give them a narrower center zone, because if you look at the other end of the ice, they moved the goal line out. Now, see, this area here is smaller at this rink than it is when the pros play. But this area here, this red line has been moved so that this area here behind the goal line is bigger.
So when they move the goal line out to give more room behind the net, they got to take it out. They got to compensate for that, move the blue line up.
That's right. This is an area that they have a pre-designed amount of space. I can't remember exactly what the distance is, but the reason they moved it is to give them from the goal line extended to the back wall has to be wider than it is in the NHL and the AHL, so they had to squeeze the center zone to give them a wider goal line.
Well, the statistical breakdown through 2 periods of play, you can see the scoring chances almost even. Face-off slightly in favor of Minnesota, and only 2 penalties called so far through 2 periods.
Well, you know, I've obviously, during the Hockey East games, watched Boston University play a lot this season, and Minnesota is doing as good a job as any team that they've played this year at making this, for the most part, a center ice game and not allowing BU to do what they do best, which is dump the puck in and press. Now, from the other standpoint, the BU folks could probably say, we aren't doing what got us here. And as I look around and chat between periods with the BU people and the people close to the program, the things that got BU here, they haven't done through 2 periods. They're stuck in a 3-3 tie. They're bigger physically than Minnesota. They're stronger, but they haven't used that strength because they haven't been able to get Minnesota walled up in their own end. Minnesota has been making movement on the Boston University forwards before they cross the red line, forcing them to alter course and breaking up plays in center zone and not allowing them, for the most part, certainly as that second period went along, to dump the puck in deep. Early in the second period, they got it in deep. As the second period went along, the tempo went right back to being Minnesota.
So would it be fair to say that the more wide open the game gets, it favors Minnesota, the more dump and chase action you have, it favors BU?
That's right. If Minnesota can turn this into an up and down center ice transition game, they're way ahead of the game, because that's a quickness, agility game. It is not a strength game. If Boston University this period can turn this in a way up against the wall, forecheck, bust into the zone kind of game, that's going to be BU's game. But we've gone through 2 periods, and they haven't been able to turn it into that yet. So we'll have to wait and see what happens here in the third.
Well, the face-off is about to be made. We will make an announcement that Tim Benedetto is replacing Rob Hearn as a referee to start the third period. You may recall Hearn was injured in the second period. Now, that guy you may recall from a little event Lake Placid 15 years ago.
Michael Ruzioni out of Winthrop, Massachusetts at Boston University. Loosey-goosey on the bench. He's been there before.
He spent the first 2 periods up here in the press box, and then went down to the locker room to report to Jack Parker and his staff. And for the third period, he's behind the BU bench with the rest of them. Here come the Terriers, 3-on-1. LaChance tries to set up a teammate coming down the slot. That was Coleman, but the pass is broken up. Now here's Jacques Joubert behind the Minnesota goal. Back to Coleman at the point. Deflection, score! And LaChance has his goal.
First goal since February 8th. Now this is just excellent puck movement by Boston University. Watch what happens here behind the goal line. Puck is behind the goal line, going to end up to the point. Watch it. Excellent puck movement. Now the right side point. Now watch what happens here. Watch right here. LaChance, deflection coming across from left to right. In the net, number 11. Bobby LaChance hadn't scored since February 8th. Got the puck in deep, got it out to the point. LaChance with the goal.
Junior out of Bristol, Connecticut. Of course, his brother, Mike, plays for the New York Islanders in the National Hockey League. Or Scott, I'm sorry. Scott plays for the NHL's Islanders.
Can you see once again, Tom, where did that play come from? Behind the goal line. And that's where BU makes a living. Up until that point, Minnesota did a pretty good job of not allowing them to do that.
Here's a turnover at center ice. Minnesota's Brian Bonnen trying to backhand it into the BU zone. Nothing doing. And here's O'Sullivan. O'Sullivan knocks it into the corner of the Minnesota zone, and BU goes for a change. Oh, and Greer just leveled someone. He got Danny Treble and just knocked him for a loop to the right of the Minnesota goal. And it was all legal, and it was quite a hit. There's some oohs and ahs to the crowd here at the Civic Center in Providence.
The chance is 11 from Coleman and Prendergast at 20 seconds.
So 4-3 Boston University lead, and still lots of time to go, but Minnesota trailing yet again.
Gives BU some zip in the legs and gives them a lead. Well, may force Minnesota to play a little bit differently, but if I were Minnesota, I'd just do the same things that they've been doing. Try to get that puck out of the zone, not allow BU to press, see if they can counterattack a goal, out of center ice transition. Don't get out of control here.
Turnover in the Minnesota zone, and a backhand in on the goaltender, Callanan. Drury, he looked at the net. He couldn't believe it wasn't there.
Well, Drury, who pitched Trumbull, Connecticut to the Little League World Series championship as a nifty stick handler, very, very talented athlete, and he's just going to weave his way through traffic coming to the front of the net. There's big Michael Greer. Watch this hit. Wham! Boy, oh boy, what a collision there between Dan Trumbull and Mike Greer. Great tip off the inside part of the stick by LaChance. Tremendous play. There's Michael. Michael doing what Michael does.
Face off in the Minnesota zone, won by BU. Rouse couldn't control it, though, and out comes Hendrickson with it to center. Dan Hendrickson into the BU zone, and offside play. 18:05 to go.
LaChance, we talked about this earlier, Tommy. LaChance hadn't scored since back in the first week in February, but he continued to play good hockey. He had like 11 assists in his last 11 or 12 games. Very consistent player, continued to work hard, played very, very well defensively, and there he broke out of the slump, and what an opportune time.
Puck behind the BU net. Terriers try and clear it. Roused along the boards. Does so successfully off the stick of Drury. And here comes BU. Oh, just over the stick of Coleman. He had a play to make, but couldn't complete it. Quickly back the other way. Dan Woog is tripped up. No penalty called for there. Kylina behind the Terrier net. Casey Hankinson throwing his weight around in the BU zone. Hankinson comes away with it. Looks to center. He has Feeblecorn in front. Can't get it to him. Now here's Feeblecorn. The turnaround by Woog, and Feeblecorn almost batted it in.
He did, and I'll tell you, Herlovsky was way out of position there as he came up to make the play on Woog. Woog got the puck first and moved it over. Feeblecorn tied up, couldn't convert.
Puck at center. Chad Johnson across ice to Rich Brennan. Brennan will have Boston University called for icing as his entry pass. Didn't hit anybody's stick in the center zone, and icing the call on BU. Boston University bench, the Terriers' last national championship, 1978. None of these players were here, but Jack Parker Jr. was in this building. And the only 2 shots of the third period by the Terriers.
That was when Jack took over for Neil Abbott right in the middle of the season, the first half of the season, and just did a tremendous job taking over as assistant coach to become head coach after the season had already started.
After BU controlled the faceoff and cleared it down on the goaltender Callanan, it's Larson now at center for Minnesota. Brennan intercepts and puts it back out to center.
Minnesota would like to dump that puck in the zone right there, but Larson was in deep, and they just couldn't get it in. Mike Crowley held on to the puck so as not to take an intentional offside penalty.
Larson in the corner again in his own zone. Quickly up the center off the stick of Bonin. Here's Chris O'Sullivan for BU. O'Sullivan fakes the big shot. Tries to get around trouble. Can't do it, but they force Callanan to cover up to the right of his crease.
Bobby LaChance breaks out of the slump, and is he ever excited about that? Out of Bristol Eastern High School in Bristol, Connecticut, played for the Springfield Olympics. Plenty of time left in the hockey game for Minnesota to catch up. Jeff Callanan in the nets, face off to his right.
Terriers win it. Kelleher, deflection attempt by O'Sullivan, almost clicked. Here's Wood with a shot, and he had number 19, Steve Thornton, right there in the doorstep. So the Terriers peppering that Minnesota net after winning the faceoff. And now Minnesota finally controls in its own end. Scott Bell, he'll carry to center. Got Checo on his right. Kraft the centerman on his line. Bell carries in behind the net, goes to the backhand. Herlovsky is down. Bell still has it, has Wood all over him, and a penalty coming up to Wood of Boston University. And that's good work there by the senior Scott Bell out of Inver Grove Heights, Minnesota.
Well, he drew the penalty. Excellent play as he worked himself down the left side. Played for Simley High School in Inver Grove Heights. And Wood right at the end trying to put his hands up in the air saying, I'm not holding, I'm not holding. I don't think he has a glove on the right hand, just working real hard. Look at Wood. Got the glove up. I didn't do anything. He doesn't have a glove on the right side. That was an excellent play by the 5'11", 194-pound senior. Played his hockey, junior hockey in the United States Junior Hockey League, Sioux City.
So the faceoff will be in the BU end. The penalty is at 4:07, holding for Doug Wood. Wood, who has a goal in this game. Let's see if this penalty costs the BU Terriers. Only the third power play chance for either team in the game.
Minnesota's power play, 9th in the country, operating 22% effectiveness. Boston University shorthand, that's 9th in the country. They operate scored on 16% of the time. They have 10 shorthanded goals.
Each team has had one power play chance tonight, and each team has scored on that chance. Gophers trying to reorganize in their own zone, get it up to center. Here's Kraft. He's out there with McHugh. And a whistle for offside as Minnesota skates in. I believe McHugh was offside at the right wing. Well, there you see, this is definitely not the first time that these two have met up in postseason play.
Well, you're talking about two of the premier hockey programs in the country, and when you're in that category, you're going to meet one another your fair share of times. Boston University, Tom, had an 0-for-24 streak through the last 6 games on shorthand. The teams had not scored in the last 24 power plays against them until Crowley's power play goal to make the score 1-0 Minnesota. So they've been playing much better on shorthand recently, even than their 16% percentage, which is pretty good, 9th in the country.
Puck is dumped in by Minnesota's Leclerc, ends up in the corner to the left of Herlovsky. Boog is trying to control it for Minnesota. Leclerc pinches in from the blue line and can't control it, and that leaves it for Prendergast, who tried to clear it down the ice, ended up sending it into his own player bench.
Yeah, he could have taken a little more time there to control that puck and flip it down. He's going to have the face-off in the Boston University defensive end. Prendergast not real healthy. Had a 3rd-degree separation in the Hockey East playoffs, and I think he's just struggling to play out there tonight and control the puck and get the puck out of the zone. Didn't want to take a whack against the boards. He's had a great career at Boston University, out of Catholic Memorial, 118 career points. One of those old great places in Greater Boston to play high school hockey, South Boston. He went from South Boston to Catholic Memorial High School.
Minnesota back at its own end to try and regain possession. They have 58 seconds left on the man advantage. Kraft on the right wing carries in. But Mike Greer backhands it all the way down the ice and out. Back up behind his own net is Mike Crowley. Quickly up to center to Bonnet. Brian Bonnet had Kraft open on the right wing, didn't see him. McHugh behind the net. Gets it out to the point, but hops over the stick of Treble with 30 seconds left of the penalty to BU's Wood. Terriers just wagging some time off as Bates was able to control it in the Minnesota zone.
Yeah, and LaChance made a nice hustle play out of that. Popped the puck over, let Bates pick it up, got it back to Leaner, and they killed another 10-12 seconds.
Here's Bell now. He and Bonin making a play. Bonin, though, could not snatch it out of midair as Bell's pass was deflected. Kai Lena off his stick shorthanded. Lena sets up and sends it through the slot area, but nobody home, and the teams are back to 5 aside as Wood is out of the box. 4-3 Boston University as Checo puts a quick one in on Herlovsky. Checo again against the boards. Broken stick on the ice for someone. Drury, he's onside, and what a hit on Joubert. Loose puck is shot in there by Boston University's number 16, Kenny Roush, but now Minnesota controls and gets it out.
Not a good pass there. Trying to make the diagonal pass to Coleman. Dangerous in that situation. He's moving out to the point. Had the simple pass to Kelleher. Chose not to make it.
Here's O'Sullivan, a quick shot and a score. Chris O'Sullivan, and the first 2-goal lead of the night for either club. Boston University is on top 5-3. That happened quick as a blink of an eye.
Well, you got to give a star to Drury. He tends to over-dangle and over-stick handle at times, but he doesn't over-dangle on this one as he makes a great pass to O'Sullivan. Drury right along the sideboards, slips it to O'Sullivan. O'Sullivan reaches back, picks it up, threads the needle, far post side, beats Callahan, and for O'Sullivan, big goal for the Boston University Terriers. That gives them a 2-goal lead. Sullivan's 21st goal of the season.
So 13 minutes left to go in this third period, and the BU Terriers have a 2-goal lead. Will it be enough? We'll find out. Minnesota clears it back to center and ripped into the lower stands here in the Minnesota end. 12:54 left to go in the third. BU Terriers trying to win their way for a date with Maine.
Here we see Jeff Callahan down 5-3. This is a great play by Drury. Watch him use the body on Swackman. Gets the hip in there, takes the puck away, hits it to O'Sullivan. And O'Sullivan just threads the needle. That's not an easy angle. Left shot from that side. But he put it by. And just a beautiful play by Drury. Gets the second assist of the night.
So the VU Terriers, with a 2-goal lead now, have to protect it for 12:39. And this is a good way to do it. Carry it into the opponent's zone. And Brennan puts one in on Callahan. Goes to the corner. LaChance tried to set up Jacques Joubert. Couldn't do it, and Prendergast is down and not getting up deep in the Minnesota zone. Now just coming to his knees. Didn't see what knocked him down or what may have injured him.
Well, the concern with Prendergast is the shoulder. So if it's not the shoulder, it's a new injury.
And he's up. He's putting weight on the shoulders, but we'll just have to wait and see if he was able to stay in this game.
They suffered a third-degree separation in the Hockey East final against Providence.
Here comes the Boston University trainer. And this will stop play with 12:28 to go here in the third period. Now Prendergast able to get up under his own power, and now some help from LaChance to skate to the bench. Well, the college hoop season, of course, is still alive, and ESPN's coverage includes the slam dunk and three-point contest. You'll see it Sunday at 5 Eastern, 2 Pacific time. Brad Nessler, Dick Vitale from the Bellevue Community College in Bellevue, Washington. Slam dunkers like Curtis Bostic of Cincinnati, Lorenzo Orr of Southern Cal. Long-distance shooters like Lawrence Moten of Syracuse and Sean Rustford of Michigan State will be on hand.
The O'Sullivan goal assisted by Chris Drury and Chris Kelleher at 6:50. O'Sullivan's 21st of the season.
Puck at center ice. Now into the BU zone. Kylina pressured there by Larkin from behind. Now double team, but Greer is there to pick up the puck. Mike Greer dumps it out to center, though, on the stick of McHugh. Bonin races to it. Beats Kylina to that puck. Coleman. Bonin tied up by Lina. Now in front. The shot taken there by Larson, and out to dive on the loose puck in the slot area was Herlovsky.
Take another look at that last goal, and Callahan almost had the glove in the right place. This was a tough shot by O'Sullivan because he watch this glove. Watch right here. Left glove. Right in position. Excellent position. Let's see, he just threads the needle. It's a lot easier to pull that glove up for a higher shot than it is to reach lower down to stop a shot along the ice. Had that shot been a foot in the air, I think he might have had it with a quick move up. Very difficult when you're in that down position to get it down further because you almost got to bend your knees as well. And that puck was just threaded just inside the far post by O'Sullivan.
Sean Bates wins the faceoff for BU in the Terrier zone. Comes all the way out to center, dribbles into the Minnesota end, where Crowley is back for the Gophers. Back out to center for Wood. Doug Wood on the stick of Sean Bates. Bates into the zone, takes the shot, but seen all the way by the goaltender Callahan, who keeps the puck in play. And it ends up on the back of the mesh, and that calls for a faceoff with 11:25 to go here in the third.
Boston University would like to just back Minnesota up against their own red line and their own goal line the rest of this period. 11:25, cautiously do that, but really press them up against the wall. They have had difficulty doing it, but now with a 5-3 lead, they can just dump the puck in the zone and get after it a little bit. Send one in, be careful, keep two guys back out high through the wings, out high, not let Minnesota get any advantage rush.
Dan Parker Jr. talking it over with Mike Eruzione and the rest of his coaching staff.
Blaze McDonald and Bill Berglund.
11:19 to go. Brink behind his own net. Minnesota down by 2, but they can strike quickly. Oh, Chad Johnson really let Kraft have it. Kraft was skating with his head, either turned or down, and didn't see Johnson at the blue line. Wackman for Minnesota dumps in behind the BU net. Herlovsky is pressured at the last moment. Can't clear the zone. Kraft tries to center, but Brennan the only man there for Boston University. Now it's on the stick of Drury. Brink at center, dumps back into the corner. Off the stick of BU's Roush at center. A bouncer in on Callahan, and those can be tough, and he had to close the pads at the last minute. Coleman for Boston University.
That's what they're going to do, just flip it in the zone.
And Big Greer almost caught up to that. Thornton, Greer on the doorstep. Thornton just missed connections with the big man. And Greer and Larson, no, it's not them. Who is it? Is it O'Sullivan?
It's O'Sullivan on the right side, and I think it's difficult to tell from this angle, but I think for Minnesota, it's going to be Hankinson. Wait and see.
Well, Sullivan did the right thing before he completely lost his temper. He skated away. He knew he was going to get a penalty.
Yeah, it's Wasley, Charlie Wasley, the junior out of Edina, Minnesota.
Now, a few moments ago, there was a big hit by Shane Johnson.
Shane Johnson out of Brandon, Manitoba, played for Massey and Brandon.
Oh,
wham. Kraft going to get his head up. Freshman error. Reach back, put your head down, and Johnson caught him. He's talking to everybody in the bench about that.
Yeah, man. I laid him out.
Brandon, Manitoba. Not real big, Johnson. 5'10", 185 pounds, and 5'10", maybe stretching a little bit.
So coincidental minors will go to O'Sullivan of Boston University and to Charlie Wasley of Minnesota. 4-on-4 for the next 2 minutes, unless we have other minor penalties called. 2 minutes each for roughing.
Minnesota can get some quick people out here in this 4-on-4 situation. Might have a break.
And here's one of them, Brian Bonnet. You said it. Here's the shot, and Herlowski saw it coming, and he came out and played the angle well.
Yeah, that was a design play. If you could win the faceoff, they were trying to punch that faceoff on the jump to Bonin. As soon as that faceoff was dropped, Bonin broke left wide, and if it was one back, they were going to just ship it out of there. Watch him break right off. See him jump right off that faceoff, kick it through, try to get him to get a break. Wham! Saved by Herlowski. You could just see him out of that right corner jump as soon as the puck was dropped.
Face off for the BU end. The Terriers try to clear it out. Can't do it. Treble keeps it in the Terrier zone. Here's Bonin trying to center for McHugh. Just misses connection there. Back comes Boston University's Coleman. He'll dump in towards the goaltender Callanan to play it, and the Gophers will be allowed to carry it out easily. This is Crowley at center. Crowley on the left wing. Bonin trails the play. Crowley down behind the net. Now Bonin behind the net, but Kylina intercepts for BU. Crowley takes it away from Lena at center. He's in all by his lonesome. Tries to split the defense. Herlowski comes out and fumbles it after making the stop. And had there been help there, it could have been trouble.
That's a pretty good piece of forechecking on the inside by Mike Crowley, the defenseman, who just got some pressure on Lena, forced him to turn the puck over, and ended up right at Herlowski's doorstep.
Puck now deep in the Minnesota zone. Treble clears it away with LaChance on the doorstep, but not out. And Kelleher sends it down behind the net. LaChance again there for Boston University. Sends it in front. Nobody home. He was looking for Bates. Back to Wood. Wood with a shot high over the net. Crazy bounce off the boards. Nobody there for BU. Herlowski, or rather Callanan, didn't know where it was for a moment. 32 seconds left of the coincidental minors, and this 4-on-4 is entertaining. Really opens up the ice.
Boy, LaChance is playing. Oh, mercy. What forechecking.
Kelleher back to Wood, and a glove save by Callanan will hang on for a face-off with 8:41 to go in the third. Time beginning to become a factor for the Golden Gophers, trailing BU by 2. Hockey action on the Deuce tonight from the Providence Civic Center. Providence, Rhode Island with Bob Norton. I'm Tom Mees. This is Minnesota and BU in the men's second semifinal today. Maine won the epic afternoon tilt over Michigan just a few seconds into the third overtime period, so the Black Bears have advanced to the title game Saturday. Callanan, oh, he was going to go out and play, and one of his teammates got in front of him. Ends up in the BU end. Thornton tries to backhand it out, gets it to O'Sullivan nicely. O'Sullivan scored a goal just a few moments ago. Skates in, takes the shot, and a kick save by Callanan, who is dumped by Brennan in the crease.
Well, LaFleur, the defenseman, let the goalie take O'Sullivan, while LaFleur played Brennan, who was up on the rush, and Callanan cut down that angle nicely, made the save off O'Sullivan's shot.
Now Leclerc up to Treble. Treble to McHugh at center ice. McHugh gets around his man nicely. Lena. McHugh gets it back. The shot. Herlowski made the save and didn't know where the rebound was, but covers up. Close call for BU.
That was excellent puck movement by Minnesota as they got the puck into the zone. Excellent pass there by Bell. Works it to the middle. Febblecorn right there with the snapshot. Herlowski alert with the save, screened with that traffic in front, didn't see it. Very late move. Snapshot. That was Wold, rather. You were right in the call, Tommy. Sorry, I had 27 and not 23, but Wold with the shot, and Derek Orlovsky, that's his 27th save of the night.
Play is on, and the Terriers clear it to center. The play is onside. It is, looks like the chance is going to carry an offside, but Pandolfo got his leg back just to keep the play in the onside position. Treble now behind his own net. Checo taken away there by Pandolfo. BU at the blue line.
Pandolfo's very smart defensive player, plays excellent position hockey. Right there, just sort of sat on that pass.
McHugh almost gets a seat on the BU bench, dumps it into the Terrier zone, but the Gophers on a line change. And BU easily allowed to get it out of there. Brink goes back in his own zone for Minnesota. Larson, cross ice to Bell. Bell up to Bonnet. Kelleher is right on him at the blue line. And the Terriers clear it again. LeClaire goes back with Drury on him. Here is Sylvia. Play is onside. Sylvia went to go from backhand to forehand and lost control.
Yeah, Callahan was caught between trying to make a poke check move and deciding whether to play the shot. Did neither, but fortunately for him, Sylvia lost control of the puck as he went by the front of the net.
Icing on Minnesota stops play with 6:32 to go. Will it be Minnesota with a comeback and an appearance Saturday in the championship game, or will BU advance to meet their Hockey East rivals, Maine? We'll find out tonight, and you'll see who wins the national championship Saturday on ESPN. This game still to be determined with 8 or 6.5 to go, but Maine wins that triple overtimer over Michigan today.
In the league, in Hockey East, the least love lost is between Maine and BU.
I was just going to say, don't invite Jack Parker Jr. or Sean Walsh to the same cocktail party, not if you want to have polite conversation, because it won't happen. I'm sure lots will be made of that in the newspapers and on the TV and radio if it turns out to be Maine and BU in the next day or so before the game starts.
Oh, what a crunch.
Greer just...
Kraft.
Kraft has had a tough night. He got crunched by
Shane Johnson just a moment ago.
And now Mike Greer lays the lumber to him. Minnesota, meanwhile, trying to set up inside the BU zone. Puck behind the net. Hendrickson goes after Brennan in the corner.
As the game's going on, Tom, Orlovsky's looked more and more confident. He was beaten by that Hendrickson shot in 12:50 the second period, but he's played pretty strong hockey the next.
Oh, look at the play by O'Sullivan. Gets around his man and set up LaChance beautifully.
Great effort by O'Sullivan. He was on one skate when he made that pass. A lot of people think that Chris O'Sullivan is as good a pro prospect as there is on this Washington University team, and that just was a great physical effort by O'Sullivan. Huge family in Dorchester.
And the youngsters had to endure more
He's had tough times.
adversity than most people.
Yep.
Ryan Bonnet in the slot takes a shot, rebound in front. And that was Brink who failed to put it home. Now LeClaire winds up, and it hits traffic in front.
Great chances for Minnesota as Orlovsky left the rebound out in front. They had a chance to crash one in right at the goal mouth, but looked as if Orlovsky smothered that rebound shot.
Here's a turnover at the blue line. Bates is in. He scores. Number 18 on the season for Sean Bates out of Medford, Massachusetts.
Well, we talked about him before the game. That's his 8th goal in his last 7 games. You can't make a cross-ice pass in your own end. Watch this. Right across the line. Long, long way to go. Bates, quick as a cat, comes in. Forehand, backhand, up and over the pad. And for Sean Bates, number 18, that's going to be an unassisted goal as he swipes that pass just on the Boston University side, offensive side of the blue line, backhand side, up and over. Dangerous pass. Sean Bates unassisted. 8th in his last 7, number 18.
And some of the crowd who's been here a long time today starts to wend their way to the exits. Is that the final nail on the Golden Gopher coffin? They have 4 minutes, 45 seconds to prove that it isn't.
15:07, Sean Bates unassisted, number 18, 63 the score, 4:45 remaining.
And it started already. The crowd here, the BU fans are chanting, "We want Maine." They'll get them. And you can see the national title game, unless a miracle happens here for Minnesota. It'll be BU in Maine at 1:30 Eastern Time, Saturday afternoon.
You know, you look at this Boston University scoring. They got pretty good spread here. You look at it, Tom. Jacques Joubert, he's one of their top two-line guys. Doug Wood, only his 6th goal of the season. Defenseman Matt Wright, third-line guy. He got his 7th of the season. LaChance hasn't scored since February. He got his 11th. O'Sullivan, first-line left wing. He comes up with his 21st. And then Bates, he got his 18th, third-line centerman. So once again, Boston University, great spread of offensive production through 4 lines and a defenseman chipping in.
Is Demko to pay off against Maine?
Well, I think that they've both of these teams match up pretty well. They've had some great games, and there's not much to pick from the two of them.
Well, of course, Jack Parker likes to alternate his goaltenders. Now, Herlowski, after a shaky start, has come on late, but you have the freshman Noble. A lot of people feel that he is the better of the two.
Well, I don't know whether he's the better of the two or not, but it's his turn to play, and my thought is he'll play Tommy Noble.
Derek Herlowski's got to be a big night for him, because he's openly said that while Minnesota recruited him, he didn't think they recruited him hard enough, and that's why he came east to play at Boston University, and he has a chance to beat Minnesota twice in the same year.
Yes, he does, and he had a shaky start to this game, and I think he'd be the first one to tell you that he just was not real confident playing solidly early on in the game, but got better as the game went on. I know that Henriksen's goal looked bad. There's Tommy Noble out of Catholic Memorial. You know, Jack Parker's going to make the choice. I think it's going to be Tommy Noble because it's his turn to play.
And you know what? If the players know the deal coming in, know that there's going to be a continuation of the alternating goaltender system, there's really nothing to argue about.
Well, the other side of the coin is Herlowski's a senior, and Jack pays a lot of attention to senior leadership and the value of seniors on the team, and that obviously is the reason he could go the other way.
Herlowski out of his net to quickly clear it up to Jacques Joubert. O'Sullivan has some open ice, but they're only interested now in getting the puck down in the Minnesota zone.
I know that goal by Henriksen looked bad, the one that Herlowski gave up, but you know, you just see a lot of those kind of goals when the goalie's going left and the puck comes back right. I think those happen, and you know, that one, it looks like the goalie should stop that one, but it's not quite as easy as it looks.
Well, Chance tries to get out of his own zone, can't do it. Puck comes over the goal line, and ice in the call on Boston University with 3:13 left to go in this game. Well, coming up after our hockey telecast of the college ranks, it's the NHL tonight. If you're tired of waiting for your hockey highlights late in the sportscast, wait no more. It's SportsCenter for the hockey fan. Bill Pito, your host. That's coming up after our game tonight, the NHL tonight. All the scores, all the highlights. A bad night for Phillies' Ron Hextall. Gave up 3 goals in the first 3 shots to the New Jersey Devils. And a bad night for those guys. I don't know what they've been drinking today, but obviously too much. The beer mug man. You have cheese heads, you have puck heads, and now you have mug heads, I guess.
They're having a great time. Minnesota's got the goalie out of the net. Goalie out, 3:13 remaining. Minnesota's pulled Callahan.
I want to know, were those mug heads, is that light beer or not?
Well, the only way you have a chance to be down 3 with 3:13 to go. In zone face off to the right of Herlowski. Doesn't make a difference whether you lose 6-3 or 7-3. You got to get some offense.
And Bonnet, as Minnesota won the face-off, puts one in on Herlowski, but he saw it all the way, and Doug Woog. The Gophers were not expected to be here. They weren't expected to come out of that West region. They had to be Colorado College to do it, and they did. And that says something about that team.
That sure does, and most people think Colorado College had as good talent as anybody in the country, but Coach Woog does a great job. Lots of folks, it's a tough place to coach Minnesota with all of the pressure, more pressure probably on the Minnesota college hockey coach than there is on the coach of the Minnesota, manager of the Minnesota Twins or the Vikings. You know, everybody expects him to be in the national championship game every year and gets the best players in Minnesota, but he's a great coach, and certainly among those of us who know a little bit about this stuff, highly respected.
Crowley comes into the BU zone, and the sands of time are running out on the Gophers. The Terriers just lining up at the blue line like bowling pins.
Well, they're just not going to let him get too many breaks into the zone.
Sylvia dumps in towards the empty net. One bounce it in, and it is 7-3. Mike Sylvia against the goal. And the the partying can officially commence now for the Boston University Terriers. They will play Maine for the national championship and all Eastern final, and they love it here in the eastern part of the country in Providence.
Well, it'll be a short party for Boston University tonight because they've got to get ready to play the Black Bears. Mike Sylvia, another one of those Captain Memorial guys. They have 4 Captain Memorial players on the ice for Boston University tonight. Mike Sylvia, the freshman out of Newton, Massachusetts, in Captain Memorial High School. Empty net goal at 17:30, unassisted. His 9th.
And back in the net because Coach Woog knows the deal now. The game basically is over. He's got Callanan back in the net. Thornton breaks in on Callanan. Tries to set up big lumbering Greer down the slot, but it's deflected aside.
3-3 game coming into this period.
Yeah.
4 unanswered goals by Boston University. And when you look at it, you wondered what would happen because this game was certainly up for grabs after 2. But Boston University, I think that goal right at the beginning of the third period, 20 seconds into this third period, they scored. And, you know, the way that goal happened at 20 seconds of the period is a backbreaker. You know, you come out here in the third, and the coaches just told you what a great chance you have to win the game. And this game is up for grabs, and 20 seconds into the period, a guy who hasn't scored since the first week in February puts you down 4-3.
Makes you wonder.
The chance has had a superb 2 weeks and is sort of symbolic of what you can do when you're not scoring goals because he's been an excellent hockey player.
Puck inside the BU zone. Terry's just trying to clear it out. The puck keeps rolling, and now we'll stop the whistle for the face-off with 1:23 to go, and there the look of dejection on the Minnesota Golden Gopher bench. You know, you start the season, in October? And you go through the Christmas tournaments, and you go through the academic grind with the exams and everything, which is really the reason these kids are in college, or should be. But you give so much of yourself, and you come down to one shot in the semifinals, and actually one bad period in Minnesota, their season is over.
That's exactly it. You know, this game was 2-2 at the end of the first period, 3-3 at the end of the second period, up for grabs. You just can't, you know, sometimes it's the way things happen that have more of an impact on the result of the game than the actual goal itself. And, you know, you just have to look at that goal 20 seconds into the period to see what that impact was here.
And a reminder for those of you across the country on ESPN, Saturday afternoon, 1:30. Bob and I will be back here at the Providence Civic Center for the Maine BU matchup. The national championship on the line. Jack Parker's Terriers. How'd they do against the Black Bears in Hockey East this year?
Well, they had a win, a loss, and a tie. That was let me look and make sure of that, but I think that's what they did.
Checking the records, and we'll have that for you in a moment. Of course, Maine for the longest time was ranked #1 in the country and undefeated.
Maine beat, on December 2nd, Maine beat Boston University 6-5. Boston University 3-3 tie on October 30th. Split.
Puck behind the Minnesota net. So what we can expect is a close game between those two. Roush falls down the slide.
Absolutely. 3-3 tie and a 1-goal win by Maine, rather.
I hope the Maine players, for their own sake, are already fast asleep. Playing over 100 minutes of hockey earlier this afternoon.
No, Maine beat Boston University twice, and there were 2 ties. Maine beat Boston University in a Great Western Bank freeze-out, and they beat them on December 2nd, and they beat them again on tied them on December 3rd.
So BU has yet to beat Maine this season.
BU has not beaten Maine this year. That's right.
Well, they'll look to end that streak and win a title on Saturday. For the Black Bears, they're trying to get their second title in 3 years. We'll see if that happens.
Historically, the games between these two teams are great games. Not much to choose between either team.
Under 20 seconds left to go in this one. It's only a matter of count. No empty net now. Boston University will win it. 7-3 is the count. Congratulations to the Terriers of Boston University. They're advancing to the finals of this tournament. The last time they played a final in this building in this tournament, they won it. We'll see what happens.
You get some credit to the Gophers of Minnesota, too. This was a good performance by them. They just 4 unanswered goals by BU in the third period, did them in. But they played 2 periods of great hockey.
Well, the Terriers congratulating their goaltender, and you saw the Golden Gophers around Callanan. I don't think you can blame Callanan for the loss.
Oh, no. No. This was just a period in which that third period got away from them. They came in with a great chance, 3-3 tie, and it got away from them.
And two guys who genuinely like each other. Jack Parker Jr. talking to Coach Doug Wood. Now Jackie Parker gets to face his arch rival Sean Walsh and the Maine Black Bears. It'll be the Bears and the Terriers. They're going to have a fight for the national title here on Saturday afternoon. Our final score tonight in our second semifinal from Providence, the Boston University Terriers 7, the Golden Gophers of Minnesota 3. We'll be right back with more from the Civic Center in Providence, Rhode Island. Stay with us, please.